I'm Ann Makovic, and this is The Minute. More Bay Area cities have joined a lawsuit against the Trump administration over sanctuary policies. San Jose, Oakland, and Emeryville. President Trump has threatened to pull funding from agencies that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. San Francisco and Santa Clara counties are already part of that lawsuit. Today, activists urging Americans not to spend money at any major retailers. The movement for a 24-hour economic blackout is being led by a grassroots group called the People's Union USA. The goal is to send a message to business and political leaders over rising prices. And today, a new member of the San Francisco Police Commission will be sworn in. Former federal prosecutor Wilson Leong taking over for former VP Max Carter Oberstone. Supervisors removed him at the urging of Mayor Lurie. I'm Ann Makovic with The Minutes.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's the last warm day for us here in the Bay Area before we're gearing up for a cold front to sweep through, changing the forecast completely by Saturday heading into Sunday. Today, we're sitting in the upper 60s along the coast, so just a little bit cooler compared to yesterday when we were sitting in the 70s in Pacifica and San Francisco. We still see plenty of 70s anywhere from San Jose all the way off into the East Bay and the North Bay too. But we head into our forecast tomorrow, and this cold front brings in not only cooler temperatures, but some rain as well. And that matches up with what the Climate Prediction Center is showing. As we head into the first couple days of March, we're expecting wetter than normal conditions for us here in the Bay Area. And taking a look at our rain chances, just within the next 7 days, we have on and off showers in the forecast for us Sunday, Monday, heading into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So let's time this out to give you a little taste of what we can expect as early as Saturday morning. Already waking up to cloudy skies, and we'll see some light offshore showers sweeping in as we head into the evening hours Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Notice how this isn't an atmospheric river though. We're not seeing a huge amount of rain funneling in from offshore. These are on and off showers that we're experiencing as we head into Sunday and Monday of next week. It'll be very similar as we head into mid next week as well. So you'll probably want to have the umbrella handy, but there's going to be moments where you don't need it as much. And you'll think to yourself, why did I even bring it to this event? Here's the daytime highs I was talking about, by the way. 70s turning into 60s into 50s just within 3 days alone as we head into our Sunday forecast for the Bay. And then we'll hold on tight to the 50s as we head into mid next week. Our friends along our inland areas seeing some low 60s trickled in there too, but it's still a chilly setup right back to that winter forecast that we're used to during this time of year.
A pilot program in San Mateo County is testing out a new way of treating drug addiction. It rewards meth users with gift cards if they continue to test clean. Our Amanda Harry spoke with the man who was in this program about how it's helped him change his life.
It's something Daniel Maldonado, who's recovering from a meth addiction, hasn't been able to do for the majority of his life. Walk into a store, pick something out, and then walk up to the register to pay for it. It's all thanks to a gift card program run by Our Common Ground, a nonprofit for substance abuse treatment.
Being able to have extra help without having to steal nothing or having to worry about nothing, just going to the store and getting it, it's a plus, you know? You ain't got to worry about going to jail.
The concept was developed based on scientific research that shows rewards help stimulant users like Maldonado recover more effectively than conventional treatment alone. Maldonado has been clean for more than a year, but he used for a long time, and it changed the trajectory of his life.
I've been using since I was 9. And I started in 2008, I started slamming. You know what I mean? My hands, all the track marks. I did a lot of time behind the walls. At the age of 14, I ended up getting 6 years.
He's fully immersed himself in OCG's treatment programs, and the gift card program is just one more incentive to keep him going. It lasts 24 weeks. Each week a participant tests clean, they get a $25 gift card, totaling $600.
You could get Home Depot cards, you get Walmart cards, and you know, just hygiene, clothes, without having to go steal it.
It's a federally funded treatment strategy. The Department of Healthcare Services pays for the gift cards. The cost is a far cry from the more than $100,000 a year the Vera Institute of Justice estimates it costs to jail someone. Director of Operations for OCG, Chris Morales, says so far it's been successful.
It's had great results so far. All of the clients who have enrolled, who've met the eligibility criteria, have done very, very well. They're all testing clean over 90 or even 95% of the time.
OCG has been running the program since July. So far, more than 30 people have enrolled. They hope to have more in the future. Maldonado says he's grateful for the program and plans to continue on this path, and even recommend it to others.
I won't go back to that other life. I'm so happy where I'm at right now.
Fighting addiction, one swipe at a time.
Similar pilot programs exist in several other counties, including Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Francisco. Federal approval to fund that program lasts through 2026. People angry at the sweeping changes brought on by the Trump administration are calling for a 24-hour economic blackout. They want Americans to vote with their dollars by not spending a penny today. The boycott, led by the People's Union USA, aims to send a message to business and political leaders about rising prices and the state of the U.S. economy. While some economists doubt a one-day boycott will drive major changes, activists are hoping it will inspire further movements. And this comes as a new CBS News poll shows that increasing worry over inflation. 77% of those surveyed say their incomes are not keeping up with rising costs. Around 60% of Americans describe the economy as bad. That is a 2% increase from last year. Almost half of the country feels the economy is getting worse. A high-stakes meeting this morning between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy takes a tense turn. Trump threatened Zelenskyy to make a deal with Russia or negotiations will not continue. And that comes as Zelenskyy wants into NATO and assurances of his nation's security. Whether this meeting can pave the way for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine, we're going to have to wait and see. But things got off to a very rough start.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful.
This all comes after President Trump appeared to blame Ukraine for the war that Russia started. He also labeled Zelenskyy a dictator while declining to say the same of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The leaders had initially planned to meet today to sign an agreement regarding U.S. access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. California has the second largest Ukrainian population in the United States, and that number has grown after Ukrainians fled their country when Russia invaded 3 years ago. But Ukrainians were not the only ones who felt the need to flee. Our Laureen Ayub spoke with one woman who left Russia out of fear of persecution because of her family's Ukrainian descent.
She's a Russian national of Ukrainian origin. Sofia Semlanskaya has come a long way since she fled Russia after the war began 3 years ago. Grabbing a coffee in her new home of San Francisco, Sofia says her layered identity as a Russian citizen with Ukrainian blood caused her inner turmoil.
I felt ashamed for my country where I was born at and lived all my life, and just I don't know, I could have heard like all those military planes just like flying, around because I lived really close to border with Ukraine.
Using WhatsApp to stay in touch with her loved ones in danger in Ukraine, Sofia and her family felt both unsafe staying in Russia and morally conflicted paying taxes to a nation attacking their homeland.
Literally just crying, feeling emptiness, and it was really hard to accept that this can happen in a modern world where people can just like communicate and, not starting wars.
While Sofia says she's grateful for asylum in the U.S. due to threats from speaking out against Russia, her heart breaks over losing loved ones in the war, including her childhood best friend.
It's just sad to see how many kids and older people who can't really defend themselves also became victims of this terrible war.
As Sophia nears the age of 21, she reflects on her deep gratitude for the freedom of expression that the United States has afforded her and her family.
Here, I don't feel like I belong to Russia, Ukraine, or anywhere else. I can just, be myself and say wherever I want to, not to be afraid for my well-being and my safety.
A path of safety she hopes her loved ones in both Russia and Ukraine will soon experience.
Well, CBS News has learned that President Trump will sign an executive order to make English the official language of the United States. The president's plan would be a first at the federal level. According to the Wall Street Journal, the executive order would also rescind a rule that agencies receiving federal funding must provide language assistance to non-English speakers. Still waiting to hear how or if this could affect California's large non-English speaking population, including our farm workers. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, a disturbing case of animal cruelty in front of an East Bay home goes viral.
Even if there was more to the story, there was no reason to kick a dog.
Plus, it is a new drug hotspot that some have called Zombie Park. The massive crackdown and the promise from police.
It's not something that you're going to see every single day, but you will see this more often.
And it'll be a boom to business for one of the fastest growing East Bay communities. We have a preview of that new Costco that could bring some growing pains to Brentwood.
It's another warm day for us here in the Bay Area with daytime highs for one more day, sitting in the mid-70s in our inland spots from the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley. A little bit of partly cloudy skies, different from yesterday and the day before, I know. But once we head into this weekend, we're gearing up for cool conditions right around the corner, dropping from the mid-70s to the low 60s and upper 50s just by Saturday into Sunday. And that's all due to a cold front that's going to bring in rain and gusty conditions too. That'll also be the case for our friends along the bay with unsettled weather into next week.
Now to a disturbing case of animal cruelty out of Contra Costa County. Police in Pittsburgh say they found 2 women who were allegedly caught on camera kicking a dog and flashing a gun during a dispute. Police say it happened in a neighborhood near Old Town. Our Andrea Nakano has more and a warning. Some of the video in the story is disturbing.
You yelling at my mama over there? I didn't yell at her.
That disc between her shoulders on her spine it affects many parts of her because it's nerves.
Gigi is improving every day after suffering injuries in an unprovoked attack. She takes a few steps, but mostly spends her time cuddling with her dad.
She's going to get every bit of loving and everything she needs that I could possibly give her.
This happened last week after Albert Lopes got into a verbal confrontation with 2 women. It ends with one of them violently kicking Gigi several feet.
Best case scenario, time and love. Worst case scenario, surgery and hopefully she recovers.
This incident has shocked this community in Pittsburgh.
We've been here for many years and no one's ever, I think the only complaint is just people picking up their dog poop, but everything else is just like very, as you can tell, very quiet, very family oriented, very no issues at all.
But video of Gigi getting kicked went viral and leads started pouring in about the 2 women responsible for animal abuse. Detectives quickly identified Legacia Williams and Garciela Amar as the suspects. Both were arrested in Oakland Thursday night. Many say they just want justice served for Gigi.
Even if there was more to the story, there was no reason to kick a dog. There was no reason, and people trying to justify her actions, there was no reason for her to get on the property.
Police in Vallejo, along with federal and state agents, seized 100,000 fentanyl pills, dozens of firearms, and arrested several suspects in 2 major operations. Agents raided a Super 8 motel and seized 24 firearms, including machine gun conversion devices. The FBI targeted gang trafficking, drugs, and weapons, and confiscated meth, cocaine, and fentanyl. Authorities also raided a daycare they say was being used as a drug den, uncovering pistols, a rifle, and more fentanyl pills. Both law enforcement and the community praised the success of these operations.
I believe that when we have success, we need to celebrate those successes, and this one is a huge success today.
We're both residents of Vallejo. I've been here over 17 years, so I'm happy to see the collaboration, community, the agencies working together to make Vallejo a safer place.
Police credited the crackdown to a federal partnership program that will continue for 2 more years. Police in San Francisco promising to crack down on drug markets that seem to move from one neighborhood to another. Things have gotten so bad at one park, Jefferson Square in the Western Addition, that it has become known as Zombie Park. Police raided that park overnight yesterday and made dozens of arrests. The open-air drug zone recently popped up as the city started cracking down in other problem areas. Police say these raids are going to be the new normal as the city tries to tackle its drug crisis. But will it work, or will it just move the problem around? Our Lauren Toms talked with city leaders to get some answers.
Got about 15, 20 people walking down towards Laguna on any.
Just after 11 p.m. Wednesday night, dozens of law enforcement officers descended upon Jefferson Square Park, a typically quiet park perched atop the city's Western Addition neighborhood that has recently become a hotbed for overnight drug use and sales. A sudden and forceful crackdown on the open drug market, targeting users and dealers who have been pushed out of the Tenderloin and Soma and into neighborhoods like this one. It was a scene both chaotic and carefully orchestrated. And according to SFPD Chief Bill Scott, this is only the beginning.
Now, resources is a problem, but these types of operations you will see moving forward.
Scott calls this multi-agency operation a blueprint for what's to come, a first step in what he says will be an ongoing effort to break up large clusters of drug users and dealers.
It was a massive undertaking, so it's not something that you're going to see every single day, but you will see this more often, and we're going to use this as a strategy to deal with this displacement that has been haunting us.
In total, 86 people were arrested, facing charges from felony drug sales to misdemeanors of drug paraphernalia possession, loitering, and being in the park after hours. Of those taken into custody, their cases are now in the hands of District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, who says at least 30 already had outstanding warrants for offenses in counties as far away as Solano.
So that puts them out of our county, now in the hands of the county that needs to prosecute them and continue forward with their case. And so that does alleviate some of the burden on our system here and really some of the conditions on our streets.
For Supervisor Stephen Sherrill, whose district borders the park, this bust represents something much larger, a potential turning point for the city's long and complicated battle with drug use and public safety.
It's not just about borders, it's about the city as a whole and really working for people most at risk who maybe haven't been getting the attention that they deserve. And right now, Jefferson Square Park is at everybody's focus point, but I'm not going to let it move from that. We're going to continue to focus. We're going to continue to press.
But the raid also highlights the city's struggle with displacement and questions of where people pushed out of Jefferson Square will go next. Supervisor Bilal Mahmood, who represents Jefferson Square and the Tenderloin, says it's a pressure campaign and coordination with City Hall that he believes will dissolve the open-air drug market.
Once you have a sting operations, once you have the severe crackdowns, you need to have ambassadors to hold the fort, and that's what we're advocating for.
And for Scott, the goal is more than returning a park back to residents of the city. It's sending a message that open drug use and dealing is over, a message meant for those arrested and residents watching from their windows.
District 9 Supervisor Jackie Fielder says she will introduce a hearing on a so-called four-pillar strategy at next week's Board of Supervisors meeting. The strategy is a way to address public drug use and addiction, focusing on prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and enforcement. Fielder says so far it's been unevenly deployed in the city with only narrow improvements. One of the criticisms of these kind of busts has been that they might make things better in one neighborhood for a while, but they just move the problem to a new area. And some people in the Mission tell us they have seen an influx of trouble there.
It's always been a little dodgy, but this is the worst I've ever seen it. And on all those things, drug use, drug dealing, trash on the street, poo.
The city has promised more enforcement in the Mission as well. Still ahead, it is one of the fastest growing communities in the Bay Area. Now this giant Costco signals a building boom. But can the growing pains that come with the surge in development be avoided?
I think it's going to help out the economy and the neighborhood.
I just know it's going to cause a lot of more traffic than there already is.
start off with our rain chances. Saturday, Sunday, heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week, we'll see on and off showers return to the Bay Area, but the characteristics from this storm is a lot different compared to what we are used to in the winter months when we get those atmospheric rivers. This is not that at all. We're just seeing on and off showers as you take a look all throughout Saturday evening into Sunday morning, and that breaks apart at times. So there are going to be moments, honestly, where you're going to head outside with your umbrella thinking, well, the rain icon on my iPhone told me one thing, right? But then you may or may not see a shower. That's going to be the trend for us as we head into our Sunday forecast. There'll be times where we do see some rain in the forecast. There's times where we just see cloudy conditions and daytime highs dropping down to the 50s and 60s at that point. Let's head over to the next 7 days real fast. I want to show you just how fast these temperatures drop as this cold front enters the Bay Area. From 70s to 60s to 50s, just within 3 days alone, and then we hold on tight to the 50s as we head into next week. Now you're probably thinking, oh, back to that, but that's where we should be for this time of year. And as we head over into our inland areas, we're experiencing the exact same trend from the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley, where just yesterday we were in the 80s, today we're in the 70s, tomorrow 60s, 50s as we head into Sunday. A very big change on the way for us, so I'm just here to let you know and get you prepared as we head into this wet, cool, and breezy weekend ahead.
One of Danville's iconic businesses is closing its doors after 6 decades of operation. Danville Bowl closing its doors for good on March 31st. The landmark business announced its closure on social media. Neighbors tell us it is tough to say goodbye to a place that's created so many memories.
I've been going there since elementary school. I've had numerous birthdays there, and yeah, it was just a cool spot to chill at.
It'll be sad, because I thought it was a fun sport, fun place to go for birthdays and various things.
According to a post on the bowling alley's Facebook page, the property has been sold to developers and they intend to start right away. Well, you might call it the Costco craze. For the third time in 4 months, a new Costco store getting ready to open in the Bay Area, this time in Brentwood in East Contra Costa County. But it's not just the store itself that has people talking. This new location is also going to feature one of the largest gas stations in the entire state. And that's a big deal in Brentwood, home to some of the entire country's longest commute times. Our Kara St. Cyr shows us what this means for the city's continued growth.
The crown jewel of wholesale grocers is finally in Brentwood. Well, almost. Costco customers still have a week before the doors open on March 7th, but that hasn't stopped them from oogling the construction site.
I think it's a great addition. It's going to be one of those businesses that I think is going to help out the economy and the neighborhood.
This Costco will be the first, located within Brentwood city limits, and the largest in Contra Costa County. The store will house a pharmacy, a tire shop, and hearing aid testing. City manager Tim Ogden says this store is a catalyst.
Costco is part of a larger master planned community that's going to bring in some housing and also additional commercial and a school as well. And so the city's put in about $13 million worth of infrastructure and preparing to do additional infrastructure this summer.
Brentwood is one of the East Bay's fastest growing cities. In 10 years, the population increased by 10%, ballooning to 65,000 people. Ogden expects more to come.
Costco's a big player in the market and shows that there's enough for everybody to come along and open up their businesses here as well.
While Adegoke Adeyemi and his 1-year-old son Prince love Costco.
We just left Costco. We just had some pizza from the Costco in Antioch.
The new build brings the bad with the good.
I just know it's going to cause a lot of more traffic than there already is on Lone Tree Way. Right there in front of In-N-Out. And that's going to cause a lot of more mayhem for Costco over here.
Another draw for this store will be the 32-pump gas station, which will draw drivers looking to save money. And that may help, because the East Bay's fastest-growing city has a reputation for extremely long commutes. In fact, the United States Census Bureau rated it the worst in the nation, averaging at 46 minutes.
It's just a lot of people are always going to be here no matter the time of the day.
The city invested in projects to mitigate traffic woes. The Sand Creek Road expansion will create a path to Costco and Lone Tree Plaza, the first in other major projects to come.
Looking forward to talking to anybody who wants to come out here to Brentwood.
Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, a lesson for some would-be criminals. If you're smuggling something illegal, be careful of who you chat up on the flight home. Now, a Northern California couple accidentally snitched on themselves.
Initially, our wildlife officers, were skeptical
that the stories these folks were sharing with them were even true.
Plus, how an effort to lower your PG&E bill could rip away a key subsidy for solar homeowners.
Very frustrating. Solar owners should not be penalized. They should be encouraged.
I'm Ann Makovic, and this is The Minute. More Bay Area cities have joined a lawsuit against the Trump administration over sanctuary policies. San Jose, Oakland, and Emeryville. President Trump has threatened to pull funding from agencies that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. San Francisco and Santa Clara County are already part of that lawsuit. Law enforcement raided a motel and a daycare in Vallejo. FBI agents descended upon a Super 8 targeting a gang trafficking drugs and weapons organization and a daycare they say was being used as a drug den. 10 people under arrest. And a hiring freeze at Stanford as it tackles an uncertain budget for the upcoming school year. That says the federal government plans to reduce funding for university research. The freeze does not impact faculty positions or student workers. I'm Ann Makovic with The Minutes.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's the last warm day for us here in the Bay Area before we're gearing up for a cold front to sweep through, changing the forecast completely by Saturday heading into Sunday. Today, we're sitting in the upper 60s along the coast, so just a little bit cooler compared to yesterday when we were sitting in the 70s in Pacifica and San Francisco. We still see plenty of 70s anywhere from San Jose all the way off into the East Bay and the North Bay too. But we head into our forecast tomorrow, and this cold front brings in not only cooler temperatures, but some rain as well. And that matches up with what the Climate Prediction Center is showing as we head into into the first couple days of March, we're expecting wetter than normal conditions for us here in the Bay Area. And taking a look at our rain chances, just within the next 7 days, we have on and off showers in the forecast for us Sunday, Monday, heading into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So let's time this out to give you a little taste of what we can expect as early as Saturday morning. Already waking up to cloudy skies, and we'll see some light offshore showers sweeping in as we head into the evening hours Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Notice how this isn't an atmospheric river, though. We're not seeing a huge amount of rain funneling in from offshore. These are on and off showers that we're experiencing as we head into Sunday and Monday of next week. It'll be very similar as we head into mid next week as well. So you'll probably want to have the umbrella handy, but there's going to be moments where you don't need it as much, and you'll think to yourself, why did I even bring it to this event? Here's the daytime highs I was talking about, by the way. 70s turning into 60s into 50s just within 3 days alone as we head into our Sunday forecast for the Bay, and then we'll hold on tight to the 50s as we head into mid next week. Our friends along our inland areas seeing some low 60s trickled in there too, but it's still a chilly setup, right back to that winter forecast that we're used to during this time of year.
It is no secret that PG&E bills have been through the roof. Just one reason why people have been adding solar panels to their roofs. But California leaders now looking at getting rid of a big financial perk that comes with solar as a way of reducing energy costs for everyone else. But there is plenty of pushback. Max Darrow introduces us to a man in San Francisco who says solar homeowners like him are being unfairly scapegoated.
From right here at his kitchen table,
We have 14 panels.
Larry Moss takes a deep dive into his rooftop solar system. He can see how much energy he's consumed so far today, how much energy he's contributed to the grid today, and much more.
What we produce right now is going back to the grid.
He's utilized the power of the sun since 1979.
We did it for the good of the planet, but we also did it cuts our electric bill down.
California offers certain subsidies to those who use solar, like Moss. But those financial incentives may soon be in jeopardy.
Very frustrating.
In response to Governor Newsom's executive order aimed at lowering the rising costs of electricity in California, the California Public Utilities Commission just published a report with numerous recommendations of ideas to get there. One of them, reducing or eliminating solar subsidies. The CPUC argues while rooftop solar is helpful for the climate, the grid costs that solar users save on are passed on to those who don't use solar. The annual cost shift statewide, per the CPUC, $8.5 billion.
Essentially, what we're doing is we are buying less electricity from PG&E because we produce our own. And PG&E sees that as money lost to them, and they want to make that up.
But Professor Severin Bornstein, UC Berkeley's faculty director of the Energy Institute at Haas, says,
when some customers buy less electricity from the grid, we still have to pay for most of the costs of the grid regardless. And that means other customers have to pay more. A lot of the costs that we pay through our electricity bill are costs that don't actually vary with how much electricity we consume.
Bornstein says the cost shift from rooftop solar is not the primary factor driving up the price of electricity, but it is a piece of the puzzle.
So I think a policy to start to phase out those subsidies makes a lot of sense. We're going to have to attack all of the reasons, including reining in the utility expenditures. But this is one of the reasons. And otherwise, we just are not going to have affordable electricity rates.
Two of them are on the kitchen roof.
Moss and solar advocates, however, argue rooftop solar is being scapegoated, as it has been before, as to what's to blame for rising energy costs.
Solar saves everybody money, period. There's no denying that. Solar owners should not be penalized. They should be encouraged.
From his vantage point, the more households that move to rooftop solar, the better it would be for the planet and the state.
At this point, scrapping solar credits is only a recommendation. Ending the perks altogether would require an action by the state legislature. A political fight is heating up over how we fight fires here in California. A proposed new law stops private firefighters from using public fire hydrants. That bill was introduced in response to the Southern California wildfires last month after some hydrants ran dry. Supporters say public utilities should only be available to departments that serve everyone. Private firefighters say they feel targeted.
I think that of getting private firefighters out of the mission is part of their agenda. There has to be many, many other things that, in my opinion, legislature should be focused on.
Do you have any concerns that this pits public firefighters against private firefighters?
I don't have any concerns at all because I only recognize the firefighters who serve all of us.
The California Office of Emergency Services, which oversees state laws on fire protections, already forbids private firefighters from using lights and sirens on their vehicles. What started as a bit of chit-chat on an airplane led to a wildlife raid and charges for a pair of hunters accused of crossing the line. Reporter Madison Keevy gives us an inside look at what started as seemingly innocent small talk on a flight and then turned into a full-blown investigation.
Passengers aboard an airplane heading to Sacramento, chatting about their interests. For a Chico couple, that meant sharing stories about their exploits hunting. Their captivated audience, 2 passengers in the row ahead.
Initially, our wildlife officers, were skeptical that the stories these folks were sharing with them were even true.
The passengers listening to every word, 2 officers with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife on their way back to Sacramento after a conference, dressed in plain clothes.
Poachers and those who hunt or take animals illegally, oftentimes brag about their accomplishments. Sometimes they often incriminate themselves, which can lead to these sorts of investigations.
The officers got proof the couple wasn't bluffing in the Sacramento airport. Byron Fitzpatrick and Shannon Price pulled out the skull of a green sea turtle from their carry-on, only after checking that TSA officers weren't looking. The skull, illegal to hunt or have, was on board the entire flight. The proof officers needed to get a warrant, served just days later, where they'd end up with even more evidence.
This couple is in the act of butchering a deer, right, in their kitchen that they illegally harvested because it's not deer season and they don't have the right licenses and tags.
Mountain lion claws, a ringtail cat, a barn owl mount, and 2 full-bodied taxidermied mountain lions, all protected species, all illegal.
These species belong to all of us, belong to the planet, and we all have an obligation to look after them and be stewards for them.
Investigators also checked the home of a family member in Napa County and found taxidermied protected species. In all, 3 people were sentenced to probation and ordered to pay thousands of dollars in fines. All of the illegal animals you saw have been taken away. Sonoma County's Hood Mountain Regional Park is home to a lot of wildlife, but rangers have never seen this before, at least on cam. A family of bears strolling through that open space. You can see Mama Bear there and her 2 cubs. The County Parks Department says it's been tracking bear activity for 9 years, and this is the first time they've ever actually seen black bear cubs. And check this out. One of the cubs looks like it knows that it got caught on camera. Researchers say the babies are about a year old. Park officials want to remind everyone that if you live in Sonoma County or anywhere that bears can roam, make sure you secure any food, trash, beehives, or chicken coops to make sure you don't get any unwanted bear visits. Coming up next, pushing for diversity despite a push in the other direction from the president. We're going to introduce you to a Bay Area trailblazer who helped change the look of Silicon Valley.
It didn't matter what color, what ethnicity, what country those people were from that built the workforce. He just wanted the best and the brightest.
It's another warm day for us here in the Bay Area with daytime highs for one more day, sitting in the mid-70s in our inland spots from the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley. A little bit of partly cloudy skies, different from yesterday and the day before, I know. But once we head into this weekend, we're gearing up for cool conditions right around the corner, dropping from the mid-70s to the low 60s and upper 50s just by Saturday into Sunday. And that's all due to a cold front that's going to bring in rain and gusty conditions too. That'll also be the case for our friends along the bay with unsettled weather into next week.
All month long, we have been very proud to showcase the talents and important work of our Black community in the Bay Area. We've showed you stories of inventors, artists, and sports trailblazers during this Black History Month. Now to a story that looks to shake up the tech industry. We recently told you about a children's book based on the life of Roy Clay, a trailblazer for the Black community in the tech industry. He's even considered the godfather of Silicon Valley. At a time when diversity efforts are under attack, Veronica Macias spoke with her son about why these efforts are so important to get the best and brightest together.
Looking around the Silicon Valley, you can say much hasn't changed in terms of diversity since the 1960s, when a young Black man with a genius mind from Missouri entered the tech industry. Roy Clay was a pioneer in the Silicon Valley who inarguably pushed the door open for others behind him after the founder of Hewlett-Packard himself, David Packard, hired Clay when other companies had turned the young man away just because he was Black. Clay's son, Chris, says his father always admired his boss for it.
That he just wanted the best possible workforce, the best possible team to build the best possible company. And it didn't matter what color, what ethnicity, what country those people were from that built the workforce. He just wanted the best and the brightest. So one of the things that he did was he recruited from traditionally recruited from territories like, historically Black universities.
Chris says his father believed in having the largest pool of applicants possible, using his position at HP to fight inequality in the industry.
And you got to expand the talent pool. So when people talk about, when a certain person talks about eliminating DEI, that's the stupidest thing in the world, because what you're doing is you're cutting off a big chunk of that potential talent pool. And what DEI done right just ensures that you have the absolute best possible workforce.
Kevin Epps, an independent filmmaker, documented Roy Clay along with John Templeton for decades as they shared stories of African Americans who paved the way in the tech industry. Epps says from the very start, he was fascinated by the man who helped create the very first HP computer and wrote the software for the HP 2116.
His contributions in terms of being a pioneer in the world of technology in a time where we didn't see a lot of brothers of color, or people that look like us.
A 2021 report from the Computing Technology Industry Association shows the industry still lacks diversity. Only 3,000 African American tech workers are in the Silicon Valley, in contrast to 45,000 white and some 100,000 Asian American. Templeton, a historian who has focused on technology leaders, says there has been improvement these past few years.
Those who have come later are trying to say that we don't have that technical competence when we started the industry.
As Black History Month comes to an end this year, we're reminded how a technical genius credited for putting the Silicon Valley on the map made every effort to diversify his industry.
Well, you can be successful, you can have goals, you can have aspirations, but at the same time, don't forget about the people that are going to come behind you. So one of his big things was he wanted to be an inspiration to his peers and people generations coming up generations behind him. But then he also wanted to open doors for other people. So when he walked through doors, he made sure he, quote unquote, left those doors open to create opportunities for people that came behind him, specifically people that came behind him in the world of technology.
You can find more of our stories celebrating Black History Month on our website, kpix.com. Coming up, results are in for Petaluma's Purple Cup experiment. It was an unprecedented effort to try to keep trash out of landfills. We'll show you how it actually worked.
I think this was a very exciting thing to be a part of, to be the only city in the country to do this.
Start off with our rain chances. Saturday, Sunday, heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week, we'll see on and off showers return to the Bay Area, but the characteristics from this storm is a lot different compared to what we are used to in the winter months when we get those atmospheric rivers. This is not that at all. We're just seeing on and off showers as you take a look all throughout Saturday evening into Sunday morning, and that breaks apart at times. So there are going to be moments, honestly, where you're going to head outside with your umbrella thinking, well, the rain icon on my iPhone told me one thing, right? But then you may or may not see a shower. That's going to be the trend for us as we head into our Sunday forecast. There'll be times where we do see some rain in the forecast. There's times where we just see cloudy conditions and daytime highs dropping down to the 50s and 60s at that point. Let's head over to the next 7 days real fast. I want to show you just how fast these temperatures drop as this cold front enters the Bay Area. From 70s to 60s to 50s, just within 3 days alone, and then we hold on tight to the 50s as we head into next week. Now you're probably thinking, oh, back to that, but that's where we should be for this time of year. And as we head over into our inland areas, we're experiencing the exact same trend from the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley, where just yesterday we were in the 80s, today we're in the 70s, tomorrow 60s, 50s as we head into Sunday. A very big change on the way for us, so I'm just here to let you know and get you prepared as we head into this wet, cool, and breezy weekend ahead.
On today's Project Earth, an update to last year's unprecedented experiment that unfolded in Petaluma involving purple reusable to-go cups. The goal was to see if a community would cut down on the single-use cups that are so quickly trashed. And we got our hands on the final report. Last fall, Petaluma was ground zero for an innovative experiment. For 12 weeks, more than 30 downtown restaurants swapped their single-use cups for a purple reusable one, emblazoned with a catchy tagline.
It says, sip, return, and repeat.
I think this was a very exciting thing to be a part of, to be the only city in the country to do this.
I really liked it, actually. There was a million places where you could put the cup back.
I always got the purple cup. I thought it was like really convenient.
I don't know overall how it went in the city, but it seemed like people were aware of the program.
Now hot off the presses, a new report backs that up.
It was surprising and encouraging to see how quickly consumers embraced the change.
Researchers found more than 80% of Petaluma residents were very aware of the project, knew how to return the cups for wash and reuse, and wanted the service to continue.
Haven't seen that level of community engagement, awareness, understanding, satisfaction, pride. Petaluma was very proud of the project.
Carolina Lobel is with the Center for the Circular Economy at Closed Loop Partners, the group behind the project. She said 81% of users returned at least one of their cups, and more than 51% of those cups, about 250,000, were kept out of landfills.
We were overwhelmed by the results.
The group will soon roll out longer-term projects in other cities. As for Petaluma,
what does it look like after this?
Ashley Harris is manager for the locally owned and operated Petaluma Coffee and Tea Company.
Now it's what do we do with it as a community?
Lobel has promising news.
In Petaluma specifically, we are working with our private and public partners on a continuation plan. So stay tuned.
Brewing up a sustainable new solution. For more Project Earth stories like this one, just head to our website, kpix.com. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.